Good morning, one. Good morning, all. To Doctor Surgery. Welcome back to another week's edition of Britain's first Black Current Affairs show, The Doctor's Surgery, coming to you live and direct this Tuesday morning, 1st of September. We hope everyone had a good bank holiday weekend under the circumstances. What circumstances do you mean? Well, that's a part of the discussion this morning. If you're a first time listener, welcome to the Doctor's Surgery. What's the Doctor's Surgery about? Like I said, it's about current affairs. We review things over the past week, at which point where we then discuss the matters live in relation to how they impact on us, looking at the nuances and the various aspects of them and the way they impact us. So we hope you'll enjoy the show. We're on from 8. We're a bit late this morning, earlier than last week, though, innit? So we're on from 8 to 11, where we encourage you, the listening audience, to give us a call, to give us your take on the matters that we are looking forward to discussing. The phone and text line is 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. I'll give it one last time for the money. 0753 996 8143. If you're not a subscriber yet to the show, get onto YouTube and subscribe. You can see all the past shows. You can listen to all the past shows on our YouTube channel on the Doctor's Surgery. When you search in YouTube, the Doctor's Surgery, THE space Doctors DOCTORS space surgery SURGERY. What you will then find is that it won't come up in straight away. What you then have to do is hit the filters button or the refine button, and then you look for the icon that says channels, and you press on channels, and we'll be right at the top, the Doctor's Surgery. So subscribe to our channel. We love to see our subscription rate go up. We know that you, the listening audience, you're listening via the various other mediums that we broadcast on, and we'd love to know that the YouTube channel can grow to represent the same aspect of and viewpoints of the listening audience. Um, if you're listening on the Omega 104.1, welcome this morning, or on the tuning radio, Omega FM Radio.co.uk, welcome again. Mixcloud.com/Omega DJ. Welcome. The Doctor's Surgery. What's this topics? What topics are we going to be discussing this week? Well, the first one is that we're going to be having a chat about really is how things have been with the COVID 19. COVID 19 continuously being at the forefront and in the forefront of things. It's not going away, is it, for now? So COVID 19 still in the forefront of stuff. Um, what about COVID 19? Well, we know that over the weekend, the bank holiday weekend, a lot of people felt that the new £10,000 fine came in at a point in conjunction with the locking down the capital and other areas from doing any kind of partying over the bank holiday weekend, especially because the Notting Hill Carnival, biggest Britain's biggest street festival, biggest street carnival, biggest 1 day or 2 day event. A lot of people don't know that. Europe's biggest event. They didn't want any kind of, perhaps they didn't want any kind of throwback from that. So we know that initially they banned all people from Trinidad just over a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks ago, from coming into the UK without isolating. So that would have stopped any entertainers coming up, right? And um, just before the weekend, they added Jamaica to that list of quarantine countries that people have to quarantine, ensuring that definitely there's no artists coming up to perform and making any due of that and breaching any of those. We know that quite a few parties were raided and fined £10,000 over the weekend. I hope no black events got impacted on. I think we've been running away from the law so long that we've learned how to do our thing in just in that little bit of a different way because they've been on our case for so long. They've been so aggressive in policies and processes towards us over the years that even when it's a legitimate event, we always take the extra necessary precautions of not letting them know what's going on when we don't have to. So I hope everyone was able to enjoy the bank holiday weekend due to those impact of those fines. Let me know what you think of those fines. I don't know if anyone's spoken about them, but I'm sure others have. Let me know what you think of those fines, and the timing of those fines coming in at the point when they came in. It felt like it was just designed for the black people within this country as opposed to everyone else. Um, Also, what else is on the agenda? Sticking to the point of COVID-19, we know that schools restart this September. Today is the 1st of September. We know schools restart. Some probably have restarted today. Some will restart by the rest, or the balance will restart by next week. What procedures of the school that your child will be returning to? And will you be returning back to work as the government is pushing for it to happen? So there's so much taking place. The government is pushing for children to return back to schools because they want to then push for parents to return back to work. So it's a domino effect. Without the children being back in schools, parents have an excuse of wanting to stay home. So they're forcing the issue of kids back to school, putting out all kind of scare tactics towards parents to say get your children back in school because it's worse than if they stay home and la di da da. No, we're not going to say education isn't important, So where's your position on that as a listening audience? Are you a mother or father worried about your child going back to school? And what do you plan to do to keep your child safe? How do we as a community can we support each other during this time? Because we know that they have their plans. So technically we should have our plans as well, just in case a parent or a bunch of parents are affected. We know that they have a unilateral support across the community, because it's that day and time that we have to support each other, right? We can't just, no one's an island right now. And if one person feels they're an island and they're attacked, then individually they can just pick everyone off. So as a community, we have to stand together. Remember, the way they classify the COVID death is so it introduced so much unscrupulous and nefarious actions within that context of things. If someone's diagnosed with COVID-19 and then they die within the 28 days later, that death is blamed on COVID-19. So remember, even if it was as they like to say, even if it was a bus that knocks the person down, that person dies of COVID-19. But what they don't say is, even if that person dies in hospital from malpractice, from whatever reason, whether it's just an accidental process or whether it was intentional, within that period, the death is still going to be put down as COVID-19 and it wouldn't be put down as homicide or murder or whatever the case may be, or manslaughter or whatever the case may be. Those are things that are implied in the context of things, but not actually discussed. How many people were diagnosed with COVID 19 and died from other actions that weren't COVID related, but it's still logged as COVID. And during that time, families weren't allowed to do anything about it. So much was going around on social media, be it right or be it wrongly at the time, highlighting that, family members were going into hospital okay, and then 2, 3 hours later they were gone. There was so much underhanded activity taking place. But because of the panic and because of the backed panic, the government and police backed panic, a lot of these actions went unheard. And the biggest group that were affected by this were us. So now, as in black folks. So now that we enter back into another phase of this process where our children, as a black people community, our children, the youngsters, are expected to go back to school. Uh, is your child going back to school? And how, if they are, how are they going to be going back to school? Are they going to be taking public transport? What's the process in getting them to school safely and getting them home from school safely? What's the process in the schools should your child be part of an outbreak? Because again, we don't know. It's not being validated, but there's a Public Health England document going around saying that, and we know that within the laws of the land that's being passed due to the emergency measures granted to the government and then passed within law due to this pandemic, says that it says in some context that children can be taken and isolated, you know, away from their parents without parental consent. Our parents, are you, the parents, worried about those things? Where does the matter lie for you, and how do you feel about it? So it's important to get your take on that. And that's, the COVID-19 issue. There's a lot of it, so the fines coming in at the point they did, the children returning to school, and the grand finale of the bunch, you as a parent going back to work. Have you been back to work already? Do you feel safe in the work environment, in the workspace? Do you feel that, or do you feel unsafe if you haven't gone back as yet? Are you concerned? Are you stressed for any reason? um, High anxiety, because as you know, the rate amongst black folks is 4 to 1 in comparison to anyone else. Is there high anxiety on your part that you're being made to go back to work in a scenario or a situation um, that may place you at your health and your well-being at risk? So we'd love to hear from you guys in relation to that. The number is 0753 996 8143. I give that again, 0753 996 8143. One last time for the money, 0753 996 8143. Let us know if you're listening. On another note, we know that there's a senior police officer. So Britain's only ever black chief constable warned that a George Floyd style killing could happen here in the UK. Now, this is a topic here that was discussed in the national media a couple of days ago, and it's unbelievable the response that's come back from it. But let me cover it first in brief so you can understand the context of what's been said if you haven't heard. So basically, Michael Fuller, who was Britain's first and only ever black chief constable, told the Guardian that stop and search was leaving black people feeling humiliated, alienated, and that their human rights and dignity were not being respected. Now, Michael Fuller was the chief constable of the Kent force after serving in the Metropolitan Police tackling gang and gun violence in London. He said that cutting crime without wide scale use of stop and search was possible. So you know how they say stop and search is an important tool because it's needed to cut crime. What Mr. Fuller is saying is that this to cut crime without the use of this tool was possible, and that the crisis was not inevitable. So the worry that there's going to be a George Floyd style incident, it wasn't an inevitable. Am I going to be able to get this word out this morning? It wasn't an inevitability. It can be avoided. He added it was proven that building better trust with communities led to better intelligence about serious crimes. You know, he has expertise in policing and the criminal justice system. And he served as chief constable of Kent from 2004 to 2010. You know, so what do people feel about that? You know, the fact that the general public response from this, listening to the national media over the last couple of days, he's been accused by current and fellow and ex-police officers of instigating prejudices against the police. Can you believe that? You know, the media and the media personnel have pushed a rhetoric to really, as the producer would say, lambaste this man, you know, with all kind of negative terminology, as opposed to look at the credence of what he's saying. When I listen to all the various shows, the general gist of the conversation has always been to push the negative narrative that he's done something very wrong and very unprofessional to his fellow police officers by his comments, and that there was no grounds. There was an ex-officer that stated that he patrolled Tottenham and Halsden. He was quite specific with naming all the black areas: Tottenham, Halsden, Wembley, and a few other areas he listed out in his comment on one of the Britain's London radio shows. He was quite specific the areas that he patrolled as a police officer, and he said the problem isn't that police officers are racist like this chief constable is saying. He totally disagrees with him. The problem is that, and I'm putting it in my own words, but this is what the man said. The problem is that when you stop black people, they don't want to adhere to what's happening. They choose to argue. So, in a nutshell, he was saying that when you stop black folks, they should be saying, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, like a bunch of N word slaves. That's the gist of the conversation that he was having, to say that they do not adhere to police officers. When they stop, they choose to be argumentative, which then makes the police officer then take necessary action because they've been aggressive. Now, these are, you can see that these are the words of an extreme racist, bigoted police officer. And the reason I say that is because this officer has no, first and foremost, perhaps, and I mean, they have no, and not to say that we want it, but they have no compassion or no thinking in terms of how the constant on and on antagonistic approach by the police would get someone to react when they're stopped. So they constantly antagonize, they stop individuals as they see fit based on the individual's color. And then when the individual reacts with anger and feeling alienated, like the chief constable expressed, the ex chief constable expressed, then they're automatically guilty of something and deserves the full brunt and force of the law because they're not complying. Now, that was the crux and major part of the responses that were being given, because it was mainly police or ex-police officers that seemed to all of a sudden call in. And then this fits this narrative that black people are argumentative and difficult to deal with and belligerent and uneducated. That's the narrative that was being pushed, as opposed to the fact that there was already an incident in the UK where someone someone's neck was being knelt in by a police officer. That was hardly discussed. The fact that the chief constable is saying that this could happen in the UK, and there's this backlash from current and ex-police officers saying it's foolishness and da 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 da, and it makes the police look racist when they're not. But yet, all their comments were racially charged and racially insensitive, suggesting that they are racist and it can lead to such an incident as the chief constable has expressed. But none of the presenters chose to dissect it in the way that it needed dissecting. They used American examples to suggest that in America, and this is one of the things that you always will see a racist white person do. They will take the example last when what's the guy's name? The last gentleman that was shot in the back 7 times. Well, the gentleman that was shot in the back 7 times. When I read up on the story behind his situation, there was a lot of things there that was placed in the news articles from the United States in that region when I was doing my research that said that he had an outstanding warrant and so forth. If you go back and listen to that show, I said I'm not going to talk about those things because the police officers aren't the judges and the executioners of warrants. They're meant to uphold the law and bring those people to the judges and the prosecutioners if that is the case. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't mention the information pertaining to the background to this guy's criminal history because it's always something to try and belittle someone. And when you live in a society where a black person's historical outcome is based on not essential evidence but just hearsay. And what I mean by that is that most information about black folks is always an allegation of something, and then a lot of them are criminalized based on an allegation with very little or flimsy evidence. So when you live in a society where people are criminalized on little or flimsy evidence, any little information becomes a trigger. So what they will do, I remember years ago when I was doing my research into Black history and how they came up Black leaders, one of the things that was said was that they will always first throw mud on a Black leader, and they will keep throwing mud towards a Black leader until something sticks. And the thing that they always throw at Black leaders that seems to always resonate and stick are always sexual allegations. When they will never throw money at a Black leader. Whenever a Black person is caught up with loads of money, you never hear those cases in the media. I give an example of what I mean. There is a social media personality, and you all can research it, by the name of Hushpuppi. I'm not bigging up criminals or whatever the case may be. Even my own statement, he's not being convicted yet, and I'm calling the poor guy criminal. By the name of Hushpuppi, who was illegally extradited out of Dubai recently in the last few months to the United States. Now, The United States and Dubai and the UAE do not hold an extradition treaty. So there is no way that this guy could have been extradited. And the reason he was extradited is because America wanted it to happen, which again was illegal. Now, the money involved in this case, it goes into the hundreds of millions of dollars. So you don't hear about it because it will be a black personality attacked simply for being on social media and flaunting wealth. That's why he was investigated in the first place. Let me say that again. This black personality on social media was investigated in the first place because he was on social media flaunting wealth that the FBI did not agree he should have had because he was a second-hand clothes retailer only a few years ago in Nigeria. How can he be portraying a billionaire lifestyle on social media? You heard it right. So they investigated the black man because the black man was showing wealth that was not becoming of his station or his position. But you don't hear about these things. These things are hidden. I can guarantee you, if it was a black man that was so called grooming kids or it was sexual behavior or something, you'd hear about it. So they use stereotypical things. And I'm not knocking the FBI. If he's guilty, he's guilty. If he's not, he's not. The point I'm making is that this is how it works. Be it right or be it wrong, this is how it works. And we need to be weary of these things. Because I don't think it could be right when there's so much wealthy white folks out there that does 100 times worse, but they don't get investigated in such a manner. They don't go through that because they're white, so it must be right for them to have wealth. I remember only a few years ago, there was someone from the Eastern European bloc, I can't remember what country, where they said a year ago he had no money in his accounts and now he's a multi-millionaire heading towards making his first billion. And the authorities don't know where he got his money from. And that's as much as the news reporters said, and there was never any further formal investigation into that guy. That was clear because they were trying to flag up concerns, or I forgot the name. They were trying to flag up concerns around him via journalistic research. So obviously the journalists knew something and they were trying to flag it up, but there was no interest from law enforcement agencies, none whatsoever. Because why? He went on to broker major deals and he's now a major player in the international market. So the point is, it's like that disparity, that disparity, and that treatment is reflected all around, not just on the streets, but also in the boardroom, for lack of a better way of saying it. So they use these things against it. So when they took is it Michael Blake? What's his name? I can't remember what the young man's name that got shot 7 times in the back. When I saw the history, his history in the newspaper, I knew it was a measure of turning public opinion against the fact that the officers shot the man in the back 7 times, even if he was an idiot. And why do I say even if he was an idiot? Because it was a bit of an idiot act to do what he did, but an idiot act that didn't deserve him to be executed or attempted to be for the police to attempt to execute him right there and then, as if they're the judges. And it was like the police officers just got frustrated for dealing with him because he was being belligerent and they just decided to kill him. That's all that happened. There's not, I don't care about his history or whatever, you know what I mean? What happened in that scenario was they got frustrated with dealing with this guy. They found that he was being belligerent and difficult, and All their efforts up to that point was proven futile. They were getting tired. So he just goes, you know what, I'm killing this guy, and he just shot him. And they wouldn't have done that had he been white. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that needs to be said and said correctly. No one's asking, and this is what I'm saying, for us, we need to stop asking for equality. We need to stop asking for people to treat us right. Hold up. We got a live caller? All right. Call you live. Where you calling from? What's your name? Say again, sir. I didn't hear you. Ade. Welcome, Ade. Where you calling from, Ade? London. All right. Okay. Go on. Give us your take, Ade. Do me a favor, Ade, right? Do me a favor. Hang up and call back and see if we get a better line. The line's not so good. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So what Ade was saying, if you have didn't hear properly, he said I mean he's going to call back, but he said that the guy appeared disorientated, as if he was just on autopilot, and he was just trying to get to his car and his kids. You know, so that's what was said so far. But the line was bad, so hopefully it will have a better line. We have a better line.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second, Ade, be with me. Yeah, let me hear you now. Oh, much better. Go ahead, man. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I heard that, and I'm glad you reminded me that I should speak about that. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, you know what that says to me as well. It says to me that should should you feel threatened in that way, you can shoot to kill. As a black person in America, if you feel, but this is what I'm saying. I do not understand why black folks don't put themselves in that position where they shoot. There was a black guy by the name of Baker, and the nickname that he received following the incident in America. I don't know if anyone saw it. And now Baker was in Florida, sleeping with his family in his van, and someone tried to come in. Granted, it was another black person. It would be interesting to find out what if it was a white person Baker killed, what the result of that would be. But Baker was in his van and someone broke in with an automatic rifle to try to rob Baker. Baker managed to not disarm the guy but get the gun away from his face. And Baker shot the guy with his gun, and he literally said, "I emptied my gun in the guy's chest." Now, the police officers, the news media, everyone was shocked because of how to the point Baker was. Baker said it was either my life or his. I stood my ground and I defended myself. And the police actually supported Baker. Now, like I said, it would be interesting to know what would have been the scenario and the outcome had Baker had done that to someone else that hadn't been black. I haven't seen who the person was that Baker shot, but I'm sure the person was black because I can't understand that the way they supported him and was you had a right to do this. This is a stand your ground state, and you stood your ground. So what I'm saying is that a lot of black folks are out there protesting and making up noise and destroying property when the people that did it are sitting in their houses. All right, I spoke last week about poetic justice. What would a poetic justice in that situation have been? Poetic justice, those officers, you know what I mean, should have been dealt with there and then. To go and start burning down innocent people's places and do all the damage that they're doing to people that probably haven't done anything to anyone in their lives.
Exactly. And then you're also going to look at the mentality that will make a young 17-year-old boy leave his town and drive hundreds of miles to go to another town and cause problem. And he wasn't the only one.
And
What do you mean? What would make a young person want to do that?
I'm,
Just to go cause problem.
I'm glad you said that because one of the points I should have said in today's build up is that the presidency and so both Republican and the presidency, the Republican Party, and the the, the challengers, the Democratic Party, are using the lives of black people as a pawn in their political games.
Definitely.
Both sides, because both sides
Definitely.
are inciting literally a race war with us as pawns to get votes.
Definitely.
And
And it's been going on even before this year. It's been going on since Charlottesville.
mhm.
Okay? So it's nothing new, but we just got to be careful we don't get drawn into it. Because, like I said, it doesn't make sense. Why would you drive a 17-year-old boy? When I was 17, I wasn't thinking about militia or arming myself to go and start in another ethnic group.
Mm.
There's something seriously wrong in society if 17-year-old boy can feel so hard about something that he feels to arm himself and drive to think about another time. That's something that's got nothing to do with him.
but you
Think
see,
about those problems.
this is the next thing though. This is the next thing. You know, this is another thing that people have to be mindful of. Whenever it's a white person, we always try to understand the psychology and the mental health and the impact and why. Whenever it's a black person, they're an animal. There's no conscious thinking as to why. It's always they're an animal. That's why they did the sea. You can see they're animals. Da, 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 da. You know, and this is the narrative for me is I don't care why the 17-year-old went there and did that. The narrative is if it was my family that he killed, he wouldn't come out and see his family. And I don't care who hear me saying that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's as simple as it is. You know what I'm saying? Because they probably took him to lunch. And that's one of the points I wanted to make today. You know, whenever one of theirs do something, the treatment towards them is always in, support and all these things up until the point of guilt and they're sent to prison if they get sent to prison. Whenever it's one
I
of
think one of the people that was a white chap. I think so. But from what I
well,
remember reading, I think it was okay.
a lot of the writers aren't black. That's a whole other debate. A lot of the writers aren't black, so it's not like it's black people out there writing and you got white guys shooting at them. It's white people fighting white people and burning out white people stuff. And I in this situation here because we all know that within the past year, it's the first time since George Floyd, it's the first time you're seeing that kind of incident in the United States. In the UK, we saw that with the 2011 riots. But in the United States, it's the first time they've seen where all groups are coming together to fight oppression. But the issue is the movement, and unfortunately, I have to agree with Trump with this one and disagree with him about the young man. The movement, I completely disagree with him about the young man. Because I couldn't care less whether they were attacking him or not, because technically he shouldn't be there, like you said. Yeah, but I wouldn't even have gone so far. I'd just say you're an idiot because you know what I mean. Why did he give a gun? Why wasn't he shot on the spot like everyone else? You know what I'm saying? If that is the case, but it all probably is all dependent on how you present yourself. I guess I don't know. I'm not there to actually see it for myself because when you're there, it's a different kind of worms, right? Um, so but the message is it's wrong and it's playing political games. And when he wasn't saying anything, he was in a better position. And even the news media have said that by the president is not saying anything and getting him stuck into this whole mix up, he's actually gone up in the polls. And for him to now to start come out and saying things like he's saying, it's as if he's gotten bolstered by the media to now say the wrong thing. You know, and
But you know what? He's a man. He's in control of his own mouth and thought. And at the end of the day, the first thing should have just condemned him from the outright, condemned it completely. Say, no, this is what you should not even have done. Gone and done that. The unfortunate thing is that you get a lot of impressionable young people like that 17-year-old who we see Trump as some kind of a poster boy, like a savior for them, especially for those who've got extreme right wing, leanings. And he's not really like that. He's not, you know what I mean? He may have certain kind of sentiment, but he's not that right wing poster boy that a lot of them are trying to make him out to be. And there's a mistake that they're making.
I mean, fortunately, it's not down to the president or the presidency to what the outcome of this youngster would be. You know what I'm saying? So it's down to the criminal justice system, which should be independent to the presidency, or is stated to be independent of the presidency. So him saying what he's saying, I think it's more of a case where he's saying people are allowed to stand their ground to protect their property. I mean, if I was out there and I had property out there, I'd be on the front page with my guns as well. And I've seen during riots, black folks being on the front page with their guns as well, protecting their premises. With him, I understand what you're saying, that he drove across state lines to do something he shouldn't have done. I understand that part. Don't get it twisted. But I mean, going into that nitty gritty of it, if he wasn't defending property or anything, the criminal justice system should then charge him for murder, because if he's just out there with a gun to create commotion as if he's the law enforcer and create order, then he will be found guilty, and he should be found guilty, I should say. But if he was there to defend a family member's premises and he was on the premises and they attacked him, then that's a whole different kind of worms. But I do not have the fullness of the scenario to comment on it. What I'm commenting on really is the treatment and the approach by the police whenever the perpetrator is white or a different color away from black, and when
let's move on from that anyway. So this thing with the 10,000 pounds, right? What do you make of that?
the 10,000 pounds fine is in relation to I feel strongly. When I first heard about it, I thought it's thinking, okay, why are they doing this? But then when I took a step back, and I'm really guided by others here. When I started to realize the combination of things, you start realizing that a lot of the reasons tied up in very strongly around the carnival and the Notting Hill, because even there was meant to be a march in Notting Hill on, was it Sunday or Monday, and the way they went after the organizer, they went after him as if he was trying to put on a substitute for carnival. And that for me was when the penny dropped to say, you know what, it was for us. It wasn't nothing.
After him, I think the march did go ahead on but there was an event in Hyde Park, not Hyde Park, in Trafalgar Square on Saturday, where Jeremy Coleman's brother was speaking at that event, and he got fined £10,000 as well.
Yeah, of course they're going to charge someone linked to an ex-Labour leader a fine. You know what I mean? That's political points there, because right now.
He wasn't just the only one. There were other people as well.
Yeah, but
that they also fined. And all he was doing, it was just a peaceful protest.
Yeah. You see, right now the Met is in a very bad place. I think the chief constable, Crusader Dick. I think she's probably one of the worst chief constables in British history. So the Met has no leadership at the moment. So they like the police. Unfortunately for them, they're like a political pawn right now during this epidemic, because they don't have leadership, which is unfortunate, because sometimes when a woman takes over something, it's normally run a bit better. But in this scenario here, it's actually gotten worse. So probably, that was not probably, she's a very terrible Met commissioner. Very, very terrible.
Do you think, I don't think in the long term it will resolve any issue. It will just make those illegal rates go even more underground. Okay? They're going to start getting a lot more careful as to how to go about promoting the events and doing the events. But it's not going to deter or stop it. And I think the more, if you try to clamp down that way without explaining, because some people, they've seen the way things have been unfolded, and there's been too much contradictions, too much inconsistencies from government policies and stuff like that. You can't be telling people we're going to fine you, if you have a rape. And stuff, you do not do, thousands of people got together on the beach.
I mean, they say that they're going to find people, but there's been events over the weekend that were put on that people weren't fined. But it wasn't. I don't think the Met police officers fined anyone this weekend, to be frank. And the people that they would have gone after is probably any carnival type event, and that's why I felt it was based around carnival.
The people, what I know this weekend, as far as the Met is concerned, with the demonstration that happened in
the Jeremy Corbyn, the Corbyn's brother, what's his name? Another Corbyn.
Yes, they did find, obviously it's not the Met that actually police, the police forces, but they did find people.
So I mean, the good thing is, no black organizer got caught up in the whole mix up, innit? You know what I mean? Which is good. In that sense, because sometimes when two dogs fighting, you just stay out the way because they'll bite you up, innit? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like I said, I think a lot of the things that are taking place. Remember, all police forces in the UK tend to be guided by the largest force in the UK, which is the Met. You know what I mean? The Met is the largest force in the UK and one of the largest forces in the world. And the leadership is in disarray at the moment because she's terrible. Yeah, and it's not just black folks saying that. There's white folks saying that now too.
You would run for commissioner. Why don't you do that?
Sorry, say that again.
I think you said the other week that you were going to run for police commissioner.
I should run for police commissioner.
Yeah, you said it the other week, because it was a private institution. That you were run for it.
I don't know if I said it. I don't know if I said it intentionally or accidentally. If I said that, you know what I mean. But you know what I mean. I don't think they'll have me. You know what I mean. But I don't know. I might do one day. I don't know. Well, I'll be better than Crusader Dick. Anyone will be better than Crusader Dick. You know what I'm saying? Anyone. You get me? Put someone else there. You know what I mean? Get Bin Laden put in there. Anyone better than her. Thank you. All right. Mm. Yes. So I guess we hit that. What's another? I'll come back to those topics in a piece. So just to summarize what I was saying about the police, you know what I'm saying? It's like there needs to be recognition by looking at the nuances within society of how the police and their actions impact on a group. And if Britain, who says they're leading the way in racial balance and racial justice, and in some quarters they are leading the way, and you can imagine how bad things are here. It's not as bad as America, but how bad things are here. You can imagine this is the best it gets. However, it's not that there can't be room for improvement, because once there's dialogue and there's a willingness to make things happen, America is going through its 2011 wake up, I guess, in the sense that Britain came together in a way in 2011 that America is just seen now. We have in both sides rioting. In 2011, everyone rioted. It wasn't black folks out there burning down and mashing up shops. It was everyone. It was everyone doing it. So the case is, it was predominantly driven by the black folks, but it was everyone doing it. Right across the UK, it was united in a sense. On the road, it wasn't the boardroom white people doing it. The road. Racism is very sparse on road. When it comes down to that philosophy of a roadman, you don't really get racism. It's roadman against the police. That's it, the institution. So from in that sense, America is going through its modern enlightenment. But there's always room for improvement, and there's a lot to be done. And for them to ignore that. But these are the points that I'd love to discuss today. What's your take on that? How can things be improved? Let's say that because we need to create our own spaces, right? A lot of times people keep asking for things, but they're not creating their own space. We need to start creating our own spaces. And when someone creates a space for us, we need to support those spaces. You don't have to jump hook, line, and sinker into it, but you support those spaces, make sure that they're successful, make sure that they grow, and make sure that they can stand the test of time as an institution. And in supporting our spaces, the reason why I was saying Brexit, when I was saying Brexit at the time I was saying Brexit, for those who remember, is because it gives you the ability to link in with those continental and island facilities to build institutions. It shouldn't just be institutions that are independent from your brothers and sisters or your long family tree. Stop buying into this ideology that you're British. I'm so tired of hearing black people saying I'm British, I was born here. Citizen or as a nationality, but you cannot ethnically be. You heard me say what? I ain't taking back my talk. You get me? And that
okay.
And that leads me on to you cannot ethnically be a black British. It doesn't exist. That leads me on to as a nationality does. Go on. You want to say something? Let me give
No, I just didn't. I didn't understand it because
genetics cannot be black British.
But no one's saying the genetics is black
but
British.
When people say they're British,
culturally, they're black British.
There's, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But then
the same way if you're born in the Caribbean, you say you're Bayesian or you're Jamaican. I think that's this is the thing. Angle that they're coming from.
I'm glad you said that, because this is the thing. Adele is currently in the media spotlight, and it's probably being discussed all over the social media and the national media this today. Adele is in the media spotlight for cultural appropriation mm-hmm. for donning the Jamaican colors, and as you would say, the Bantu knots. Mm-hmm. Now the Bantu knots, the Bantu knots, that's another debate. Mm-hmm. However, the Jamaican colors is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say her donning the Jamaican colors and people getting upset, it's absolutely ridiculous, because Jamaica and the Jamaican flag, it belongs to a country and a people of the island. Mm-hmm. But Jamaica has multiple ethnicities. Mm-hmm. By seeing the Jamaican flag and adorning the Jamaican flag and saying you're Jamaican, it doesn't automatically denote that you're black.
But I feel like if you take separate pieces of what she was wearing, then of course you can explain it away. You have to look at the whole,
the
whole entirety of
the majority representatives of Jamaicans are black. So culturally, Jamaica leans strong towards blackness. However, you have white Jamaicans, you have Asian Jamaicans, you have Chinese Jamaicans, and it takes someone to visit the island and go around the island to know this. When I left the island a few years after, I remember I was in a pizza restaurant when I used to eat pizzas. And I remember my friend said to me, that guy over there is Jamaican. And I looked and I saw this Chinese guy, full-blown Chinese guy. Said to my friend, and you forget to, I said, stop telling me foolishness, man. He goes, nah, go talk to him, he's Jamaican. I go, I roll my eyes and went to him. I said, yo, in a very sarcastic manner, yeah, Jamaica. And the man goes, well, I'm the black people alone come from Jamaica. I was so shocked that he knew that we both start laughing, you get me? But the point is, the point is, it ain't just black people come from Jamaica.
No, I don't think you understood what I was saying. If you look at Adele,
if you put all the bits together, the pieces, the hairstyle, the feet, right. I understand.
Right, so you can't take.
But I'm just saying, it's a ridiculous notion for someone to be. I understand where appropriation for me is when someone takes something and doesn't give recognition for where it comes from and what it's about, and then try to claim it as their own. You see, she had the Bantu knots with a Eurocentric attire and feature. You could look and go, she trying to teeth my thing.
Yeah, but it's not so much a case of Adele herself. It's what Adele might lead to or what Adele might bring in.
I understand that, but we have the culture police out there. People shouldn't be. This is not a one-day battle. You get me? There's people that are conscious. They're aware of everything. You know what I'm saying? And if you imagine this. You have while England is in the EU, Cornish pasty can only be called Cornish pasty if it's made in Cornwall. All right, I'll come back to the Cornish pasty argument. Call you live. Where you calling from? What's your name?
DJ Blake.
Yes, DJ Blake. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm calling from London. I'm good health and strength. Grand Rising King.
Greetings, manners and respect, my brother.
Yeah, all the time, my brother. I just wanted to say about this Jamaican thing. And everywhere you go, they say, like they're British, but they don't know where they're from. A lot of people is confused because a lot of people hasn't done no research into who they are, the original people of the planet. They don't know the owners of the planet. We're set at a place where people call themselves English. And when you say the same thing with the British thing and all them things there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, I don't see myself as a man of the planet. You know, and before Christopher Columbus came there, there were black people there before Amaru. We were Amaru people from the whole of the Americas to the whole of the Cuba, Trinidad, Barbados. We're all one people. These are the things what they used to divide us and everything. The slave masters that.
That's right.
And then putting us all in different categories. That's why we're so divided, and so much people are so negative of who they are. You know, I'm from Barbados. I'm from Trinidad. I'm from this one. I'm from this one, and then it just divides us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You did?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh. No, you're 100% right, DJ Blake. When we look at it, and the reason I said that is because when I hear people say they're English, black people say they're English or they're British, it's so I mean, when I have to fill out a form and they go, they go, my ethnicity? I don't respond to questions like that because you know what I mean. First and foremost, none of the things them did suits, and usually if I'm forced to, I'll put other. But when I have to put in nationality on a form because it's compulsory, I always put British citizen because I is not British. I don't know what that is. I'm just a citizen. I'm a national of this country that for the sake of lack of any other way of putting it in that context. I'm
Brother,
not.
yeah, it's true because that is the citizen. But brother, when you go down deeply into it and everything like that, these people have really robbed us of our birthright.
Well, yes, yes. As a people, they have.
We're the owners of the planet, and we have to look down deeply because we have been fighting. Everything what we do, they're fighting us. Everything what they do, they put our people against us. This tribalism from Africa, we've been fighting, and now it's them. We're fighting each other as well.
I'm going to ask you a very delicate and touchy question, DJ Blake. You ready for it?
Yes, I'm up for it, man. I'm a I can answer your answer in a positive way.
Come on, answer me positively, man.
I'm good like that.
Yeah, man, good. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and this came up as a topic matter. And the question is, our ancestors or our people that were kidnapped and forced into slavery, at every opportunity they were trying to get back to Africa. Yet, since it appears that they've broken us or programmed us or conditioned us, once they've released the chains, we didn't run home to Africa as our foreparents would have. We came to Europe. Why? Why aren't we running back to Africa? Why are we so ashamed of Africa that we don't want to run back there and create our own space?
Same thing I was talking about, my brother, the media and how they portray art. And a lot of people follow the media, the newspapers, the TV, and the social media and what they see. A lot of people cannot think for themselves. They make the media and everything think for them.
Because I think it's that time for people start thinking of running back to Africa, start going home.
Well, Tarzan never helped it. Remember that show where they said Tarzan? And this is what the media, the TV, and social media, they program mind control people to look at these things. And some people's minds, lots of people's minds are so shut up because they're not thinking for themselves. They're on a different frequency, mind control. They've been programmed, they got radiation in them, they cannot think for themselves, they're not thinking on the right frequency because we have to have a nation, as what Marcus Garvey said. We are a nation, we are Amaru people, we was all one before, cooperating with one another until other people came and then the vibe. I don't know how.
True word. I'm going to say something, David Blake. DJ Blake. You remember I said to you, right? You said about Tarzan, right? Do you blame white folks for putting out Tarzan and the narrative that they put out?
Well, I tell you, say the social media. I know some certain people be looking at the social media and Hollywood scripts and dictating Africa like that until because some people are so shallow they cannot think for themselves. They saw that they will believe everything what they see in that, and that is what that's what the media is portraying every day, because they own the newspapers, they own the TV stations, they own so much things that they can portray everything out there what they want, and they've been getting away with that for years.
Right. No, but even let's say let's say we own their own stuff as well, right? And it was a balancement. Do you blame white people putting out what they put out? Because at the end of the day, why would we expect white people to be a traitor to their own and put out anything else but a narrative that celebrates their whiteness and their greatness within being white? Why do we expect that white people would want to reflect anything else about themselves apart from greatness.
We are the original people of the planet. If we had our own station, we would not put out these things. We would have put out the truth and rights.
Who's stopping us from putting that out? I mean, if we,
no one is stopping us from putting that out. Only ourselves.
But that's the thing. This is what we call the lazy mentality, where laziness becomes a disease, where we are the only people on the planet that we want to be integrated and be up under someone else's tutelage and care, and then expect them to betray themselves to help us. That's we're the only people that do that.
King Production had more people like Lady M and people more kings like Lady M and more kings like me and you. This would be an everyday thing, but it's so hard. It's so hard to get to your own teacher, my brother.
All right. But this is the narrative then has to change, where that's a conversation. We have to make cool the conversation of reality. We can't ignore reality and just be a part of the process that's taking place. What we make cool.
That's what's happened, my brother. We have a lot of our people got too relaxed. You know, no ownership. You know, they brutalize our people, my brother. They've done a lot of damage to our people, my brother. We're still healing. We got a lot of healing to do, a lot of work to do, and everything like that, because they've done a lot of brutality to our people. A lot of murdering, lots of blood stains on their hands. This place was built on the hands of our people, on this planet here, was built through blood stain, rape, and murder. They've got rich. You know, we seem to be a people that we need to have our own nation. It's been said by so many other people, our ancestors, our spiritual ancestors in the past. We need to have our own. You know.
So where's your take on what's your take on the Adele situation?
Adele?
Who's
that? What situation is that?
Okay, so Adele is a British entertainer, a musician, and white British musician. She's born and raised in Tottenham, so she grew up.
Is that the lady that sings had a whole hit songs?
Yes.
She's quite a big bone woman.
Yes, well, she was a big bone. She goes up and down. You know, she loves our food every so often.
What about her? What's the headline of her? I don't really read newspapers, and I don't want television. I don't read newspapers. To be honest.
So the producer is the spy in that world for me. She's currently being linked with dating Skepta, and she's speculated to be dating. It's the producer. To be dating Skepta, and she's adorned some things that people are saying that she's doing cultural appropriation by representing the Bantu knocks, you know, what they used to call Chinese bomb, but now it's being correctly named African bombs, and the Jamaican flag in an outfit. There's even a video of her going around at the moment DJing the Spices lyrics over the Style of G remix song with Sean Paul. So she's very much adheres to and likes black culture. She doesn't shy away from it.
Yeah,
she doesn't say she does.
She understands black culture, but a lot of them hate black people. Some of them is in it to make the money. Because we are the original people of the planet and the most talented people on earth here. Without us, nothing can go on. But it seems like they have this talent of getting the most out of our people.
But I don't think
we don't give back to our people.
I hear that. I don't think she's taking it and not giving recognition of where it comes from. I think it's more of a case where people are annoyed that she's showing that imagery, because in her music she doesn't really use black culture per se, does she?
But this is
Debatable.
Debatable.
They've been doing this thing a long time, yeah? Elvis Presley, if you check out Elvis Presley and a lot of original black people music, they were taking it and put a white face in front of it and steal the original. They are the original people for music, for art, for culture, for science, for medicine. I'm sick and tired of them. Because at the end of the day, we as a people have to get together. That's what we need to get together and put our money together, invest in each other, and do all these things. We are always going to be there. They're robbing us. Cultural inventions have been robbing. You know, we meant to fund these things and everything for our own nation, but we invent them for them. So that's what we're doing our music, and we do it. We make a little money on it, but they make the most of the money out of everything.
Okay. Yeah, and I fully grasp what you're saying. But the thing is, can you blame Adele for what is something that the media and the upper echelon pushes, not the essential people on the ground?
I can't blame her still.
Well, why can't you blame her?
The producer says, why can't you blame her?
Because of what you says, who owns most of the record companies? Who owns most of the record companies? The big record companies. And who owns hip hop? Who owns most of the big record companies? Who owns record music? Who owns?
No, and the reason I'm going to cover something on here, DJ Blake. But thank you for the call. I appreciate that. Let's see if anybody else want to take part. Yeah. Yeah, man. Man has on respect all the time. Keep listening. Yeah.
Thank you.
She says thank you. Yeah, man. Man has on respect.
All the time, brother.
So there is a movie out called The Banker. And I'm going to come back to the example I was on before, but I just want to say this whilst I remember. There's a movie called The Banker, and in The Banker, it talks about how two black bankers back in the day during racial segregation was able to take over several American banks and make quite a lot of fortune from it. And at the helm, they had to put a white guy, and in the end, he himself caused everything to go pear-shaped, got them in trouble with the Fed, and it was his whispering into the guy's ear to say the Feds were looking to give him a lifetime in prison, what saved them from going to prison because they were able to prepare. So sometimes, you know, people are on our side, but they're placed in a situation where they have no choice but to acquiesce to their own. Call you live. Where are you calling from?
Hi, Dr. Surgery. It's Ade again. I just want to briefly touch on that thing you mentioned a few minutes ago, the conversation that you had with your friend.
Yeah.
As to why people didn't decide to relocate to Africa when they were free. Now, have you heard of the ACS?
ACS?
Yes.
No, go ahead.
It's the Society for the Colonization of Free People, or of color in America.
Okay.
American Colonization Society. They were the ones that helped to establish Liberia. See, the thing is that some people back when they were free, they even fight to their freedom.
Yeah. Some went to Liberia and Sierra Leone.
The Liberians, it is the oldest established republic in Africa. I've actually been there for a few years, and you can still see some of the influence there that these days when you're over the settled. But one of the first vehicle, and then the problem is that movement did not really succeed the way it should have, primarily because there was opposition from some of the black people in living there, a couple of generations, and they felt that they didn't have anything common with Africa. But they become institutionalized within the slavery system. Their language, their identity, even the religion, the spiritual, everything was stripped away from them so they could identify with the African continent. The second reason as to why the movement itself didn't go very far was the fact there was also opposition from the slave owners who shared that if there was somewhere that the slaves would go to, that even those that they hadn't freed would run away And then the third thing as to why it didn't see that much was because of the funding of it. They couldn't raise the money internally, so they had to, apply or appeal to the U.S. government at that time to be funding it. And initially, they did receive some funding, but then afterwards, they started cutting the funding, and it just wasn't viable. Now, what Garvey tried to do was try to raise the money from within, which is why I rate him for it. He tried to raise the money from within the community itself, and he got a lot of support. A lot of support from people. A lot of people gave him money. And then, you know what happens with the ships that he bought, the ones that's good, and then where he was going to take them to as well. There wasn't like a clear strategy or something about you guys, either, for example, we're going to resettle in Liberia or we're going to resettle somewhere else and stuff like that. So that wasn't sorted out. So, but there were people who did make that move, but unfortunately, it wasn't in the sort of numbers that it should have been.
Okay.
That's what I just wanted to just add to it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's noted, and it's good to know. You know what I mean? For those who didn't know, and myself, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think it's still worth trying to resurrect because it was a good idea, But if it could have been sort of provided, if the infrastructure could have been provided and funded, I think it would have been far more successful.
I think if all 40-odd million black folks in America and all the black folks in England get up and start packing up to go back to Africa, that's when you will see white people trying to block it, and you have to ask yourself why. So everyone knows that the power base is in organization and coming togetherness, and this is why it's been kept and divided so long. But it's for us to actually just make our own initial and quiet move and just get out of Dodge. Leave who love Babylon in a Babylon to suffer from what is coming in Babylon. Yeah. All right, thank you. Yeah, much appreciated. The doctor's surgery, if you want to take part, the number is 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again, 0753-996-8143. So, as explaining before, taking a call, that movie, The Banker, it's good to watch. It's based on actual events. So the white guy, the white guy that messed it up for the two black bankers, he actually gave them the heads up. And when you watch that movie, you'll see sometimes the powers that be, they use certain narratives to force their own, and even force our own to behave in a certain way, because of the impact and the way that they call it snitching, right? Or informing. They create that environment of toxicity where the person has no other choice but to go against their own or go against their friends or whatever the group may be. And given the choice, a lot of people seem to take the option that sends their fellow counterparts up the river, as opposed to standing and taking on the ramifications of what they've done. If they've done something, they decide to mess something up for others. But in that situation, they were able to come up with a plan where everyone could benefit, as opposed to just one individual. So it's about working together with people. It's not always just shutting the door and saying, it's one way. There's always multiple approaches. And the question, one of the things that came out is that, in this week's conversations in and around police and police racism, was that racism is a learned behavior. So we have to wonder how it's learned by those that join the force, and where it's coming from, and those that propagate racism, where is that learned behavior taken from, and how do we counter that? Well, we know a lot in some quarters and very little in some. So doctor's surgery, if you're just tuning in, welcome. What's the topic been this week? We've been going through quite a few things in terms of our initial first presentation. And what have we spoken about? We've spoken about COVID-19 in schools. We haven't had any calls on that actually. Thinking about it, is everyone okay with the youngsters going back to schools? We'll come back to that in a minute anyway. So COVID-19 in schools, COVID-19 and a £10,000 fine, and COVID-19 and returning back to work this September. Where do you stand? How does it impact on you? That was the first thing we discussed. We also discussed the police chief, the Britain's only and first and only ever chief constable, Michael Fuller, explaining that the environment that we're in is setting a precedence where a George Floyd style killing could happen. Now, one of the things that I wanted to say to that argument is, whilst I agree that Mr. Fuller is explaining that a George Floyd style killing could happen, we've had George Floyd style killings in the UK in the past already. There was a lady by the name of Joy Gardner, and I was hoping that when I said it, people would call in and say that. I just wanted to see how people are thinking. We've had Joy Gardner, and Joy Gardner, she was bounded and killed by the police. How many years ago was Joy Gardner? Let me do a quick research. How quickly we forget. We need to log and remember these things. Joy Gardner. Let me see what comes up. For those who don't know, so Joy Gardner died on the 1st of August, 1993. She was a 40-year-old Jamaican student living in London, England. Died after being detained during a police immigration raid on her home in Crouch End. She was restrained with handcuffs and leather straps and gagged with a 13-foot length of adhesive tape wrapped around her head. Unable to breathe, she collapsed and suffered brain damage due to asphyxia. Yeah. So George Floyd is just the American nowadays one, but we had ours already.
There was another one.
And there was what's his name?
Oh, okay. Research it.
Text message reads: the energy known a house divided cannot united. Also, some of our leaders are sell out their own people. From DJ Blake. Yeah, man. A lot of people, a lot of the leaders them are sell out. You have to wonder if the Jamaican Prime Minister is a big sellout right now or not. He look like Bill Gates deal with him a certain way. A couple of times. Well. Death of Russian Charles, a 20-year-old British man, died in 22nd of July 2017 following contact with an officer from Metropolitan Police in Dalston, England. Charles died after being chased, into the shop, right? And he was said to swallow the package. I remember that. And he was choked out. Yeah. So when they try to say that these things aren't taking place, it's like, and it could happen, it's like they just whitewashing over these earlier incidents where this young man was choked out. What did they put the officer's name that choked him out?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's a shame, because I'd have shame him. I'd have talk about him, because you know what I'm saying. These, I know there was a little mini riot at the time in Stratford when that took place. It took place in Stratford, right? I'm sure it was, or it was East London, huh? In Dalston, oh, I thought it was Stratford. There was a mini riot over that side. There've been several where police have choked out and killed a few people. And they're saying they could be a George style killing. The only difference is George Floyd was caught on camera. There's been these killings taking place. And the media, the national media, ignores these things and pretend as if none of these things have happened. And when a caller calls in and they start to go in and explaining these things and explain the nuance and the discrepancy of the argument, they always cut them off and go to the news and advert break, or they always cut them off and say it's a rabbit hole they don't want to go down. There's always an excuse. So you see, the narrative is to make people think that this is not happening in the UK when this is already happening in full force. The only difference is George Floyd's incident was caught on camera. How many other young black guys are still being choked out to this day that is not being caught on camera in this country? It's taking place already. And remember, they're likely to get away with it because the police commissioner is an idiot for the Met Police.
Especially if you haven't got footage.
Especially even when you got footage, they try to brush it aside. You know what I mean? So we all know that Crusader Dick is incompetent. You hear her last name, Dick. You know what I'm saying? She's an idiot. Why are you looking at me like that? I ain't lying. You get me? He's an idiot. You get me? I take you up my talk. You get me? So it just goes to show, you know, that we have to always remember these things. I listened when I listened to Omega back in the day. There used to be that narrative, 14 dead and nothing said. You know how many people knew about that? The media, the British media, doesn't and isn't interested in keeping our stories active and in our mindset. The generation coming up will not be taught about these things. It will be forgotten, just like the numerous other incidents over the decades have been forgotten, and it's whitewashed over and pretended that it never existed until one day something pops up when it's too late, when those kids are already set into their ways, got into adulthood, then they mess their lives up, and then you know the cycle begins again where their children receives the programming without us realizing that the narrative is not being taught on. We need to teach and keep that memory of all these attacks, because that's what it's been, attacks on the community, active and in the mindset of everyone coming up. Let the youngsters know that there are pitfalls out there. Even though you're giving them a happy life and a stable life, and it seems far removed, don't leave them to the beast to teach them about the beast. Because when the beast come and to teach them about the beast, then they ain't gonna have no defenses. You know, you have to create balancement in life. Teach them about the beast, so when the beast come, they can recognize the beast and say, yeah, you know what, you're the beast, and sidestep the beast, or even have the ability to destroy the beast because they know the beast. But when you leave them to their own devices, they're running problems, and it's not all of them, they're running problems that leave them in the same position of destitution, distress, or mental health concerns that you as elders have gone through because of the difficulties faced by how society has presented things to you. You know, that's my little take on that this morning. Be mindful. So when they talk about the police, Michael Fuller saying that there's a George Floyd style incident, he himself is helping them to create a narrative, but he himself is warning to say that these things are happening. We just have to then bring it up. How are we going to use that information? Don't let it ride away into the sunset. We also spoke about Donald Trump and what's the other idiot's name? Joe Biden. You know, the narrative of both political affiliations in America, they're using black folks as a scapegoat for their political campaign, and it's going from bad to worse. So now we know that. Even last night there was another killing. You know, so now we know that it's not. It's getting from bad to worse because of the rioting. They were even rioting outside the White House. And the crazy thing is, the riots outside the White House, I didn't see any black people in that one. And anyone that's been to Washington, D.C., if you've never been to Washington, D.C., know that D.C. is a black city. You know, the white folks commuting, D.C. is a black city. And just to see pure white faces outside rioting and to see white faces running through the smoke, it just goes to show that the unrest and the upheaval in America is not like any other that's been seen in that country before. There's a lot of things taking place right now. You know, unless DC's changed since I've been to DC, you know what I'm saying? You know, but last time I've been to DC, and every time I hear people talk about DC's been a black city. You know, so yeah, that's my little 2 pence there. Text and phone in line, you know, it's 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again, 0753-996-8143. One last one for the money, 0753-996-8143. It's the doctor's surgery, you know, we do each and every Tuesday. We bring you all the latest current affair issues that's been in the media over the past week that are pertinent to us as a people. The Doctor's Surgery, Britain's first Black current affairs show, having an active and proactive discussion in discussing the issues, getting a common mindset going, you know, sharing information with each other, and so that we can make the necessary steps individually so that jointly we move forward in a stronger way. You know, and that's crucial and important that we always ensure that we share with each other and we grow with each other so that, you know, there's a common mindset, because the media and the different media sources are always pushing to separate the mindset. Call you live. Where you calling from? What's your name?
How is everything?
You're gonna live long enough. I'll just say, wait, tell me to hear from you.
Yeah, man, I was listening in, but I was supposed to go out, you know, so I was just sitting down where I kind of fall off a bit, but I'm listening. Yeah. So how is everything?
What can I complain? Do my best. Say again.
How was your holiday?
Tiring. So much to do. So much to sort out.
Yeah, I was wondering that, you know. I was wondering how come I haven't heard nothing or nobody talking about this at the news. When I saw that on the news was, you heard of a lady called Black Bright?
Black Bright.
You never heard of her? She's on the media. She's an English woman that's always on the media talking about Jamaican and what they do with the Windrush and all of those kind of things. She talk about a lot of stuff, but she's on the media. You never saw her?
No.
Okay, well, the first time I heard of it, I saw, because I normally check on her. So anyway, she was saying about, they said that they were going to lock down any illegal
parties raves, yeah.
Illegal rave and all of that. And they're going to charge people £10,000 whether you are the organizer or you just participating, yeah? And I find that a bit strange, because I'm saying, how come nobody is kicking up about that? Because that don't sound nice. You know? Because if you notice now, you have all these other people that goes to the beach and goes to this place and gather there and gather there. But now they're saying that. To me, it looked like it was a targeted thing anyway. So, yeah, I was just surprised nobody hasn't come up with it. So, probably nobody never heard of it. But it seems now on the news that they're saying that they confiscate some people equipment that they're talking about the amount of money that the equipment costs. And I'm like, boy.
I mean, it's the clamping down has been discussed over the weekend on a lot of the phone-in radio shows. Not so much on the BBC or the other news channels per se, but mainly on the phone-in radio shows. There's been a few. I know that there's been undercover reporters that have been going to these raves and recording them and then feeding back to the on the relevant radio broadcasts to say that these raves are still going ahead irrespective of the police finding in other areas, and people are getting away with completely flaunting the law in these jurisdictions, and etc etc etc. So
what was that? An emergency law or something? Was it? That's what it was. You would call that.
It was the emergency law.
It come up all of a sudden, and it wasn't even like as you said, it wasn't air and the media itself. That media like what you call ABC, BBC.
It wasn't so much of the emergency law. It came into force when I first heard about it. I heard about it in around June or July, and and then I thought it was already active, and then all of a sudden it landed just before the bank holiday weekend, and I thought, I thought this was up and running from before. So it's like a week or so before the bank holiday weekend, they say the law comes into effect. And I said, interesting. But I just still didn't think anything of it until I saw, I heard a couple grumbles about the Trinidad and then blocking artists from coming in because they don't want any carnival type events. So I started looking into it. And I started seeing more.
And they keep the carnival online, they say, yeah.
So they say a lot of people try to keep the spirit of the carnival alive. I know Rampage did an online show. A few of us people did a few bits, which was good. It was positive that they were able to create a space where these things could happen in some context of stuff, just to keep the spirit of things alive, keep the momentum going. So we know that once the regulations and everything go down, things could go back into place. But I think the major worry with COVID-19 right now is
it's something that they're gonna use now, isn't it? That's what a lot of people in the world are demonstrating about, because they figure now they're gonna use that to take away people what they call freedom.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are. I mean, they've taken away a lot of people's liberties already, and a lot of people in this country have lost a lot of their liberties already, and the whole ethos behind that is for the safety of things. But I'm going to have to pause there and catch everybody back on the other side, because we have to take a pause for the call for the news and the advert. All right? Yeah, man. All right. No worries. Yeah. So it's the doctor's surgery. We're going to catch everyone back on the other side. Keep listening. We'll, we finish at 11, so we've got a lot of discussion to take place. Don't feel any way to call in 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. Give us a call on the other side of the news on the advert break. Let us know how things are and what your take on each point is. We catch you on the other side. It's the doctor's surgery.